If I only had $1,000 to invest, what would I invest in right now? This is a question that I get asked a lot. And last year I had a video where I did this exact same thing. I asked the question, if I only had $1,000 to invest, what would I do right now? And I went through the entire scenario of exactly what I would do. Real quick, let's look at the results of that video and how that investment would have turned out a little over a year later. My plan in that video called for me taking my $1,000 and using it to farm out, potentially, hopefully, the Arbitrum airdrop, which at the time I didn't know for sure if the airdrop was coming or what would happen. But I decided, you know what? I think the best way to use this $1,000 is to take it and try to go after farming this Arbitrum airdrop. And spoiler alert, we did end up having an Arbitrum airdrop and it ended up being extremely lucrative. And the results today would be that following those exact steps in that video, my $1,000 today would be worth a little over $8,000. And that's not even me adding up everything. That's just like how much I would have made from the airdrop alone. There was a lot of other things that I did in there that would have potentially made it worth even more. The point being that that plan, that strategy ended up being insanely lucrative. However, a lot has changed in the market since that video came out. And this video is me answering the question of what I would do with $1,000 if I had it today in the current state of the market, how I'd invest it, what I would do with it to maximize my earning potential. So today, right now, if I had $1,000, the first thing I would do is I would split that $1,000 into 3 different positions. And I would use 300 of it to buy Celestia's TIA token, another 300 of it to buy Solana's token Sol, and then the remaining 400 of it to buy some ETH. Then I download and set up 3 different wallets. Wallet number 1 would be Rabby, wallet number 2 would be Phantom, and wallet number 3 would be Kepler. And I would download and install them as browser extensions. I don't like to use like the mobile phone wallets because anyone that I've ever known that's gotten hacked has gotten hacked on their phone. And this might seem kind of boring at first and like I'm not really going anywhere, but I swear it is going somewhere. And it's not just that I'm buying these 3 assets and holding it. There's a lot more to it than just that. Now from here, I would send my ETH to Rabby, my Sol to Phantom, and my TIA to Kepler. And of course, my main goal with this $1,000 is yet again to farm some airdrops. It's just a tried and true way to multiply your capital, and it's at a much lower risk threshold than just investing in the markets, especially if you don't know what you're doing as a new investor. So for me, like when I have friends and family are like, what should I do? How should I get started? I always say, you should get started airdrop farming because it's a great way to learn in the space. It's, again, very low risk in most instances unless you do something stupid. And you can make a ridiculous amount of money doing this airdrop farming. Over 2023 alone, I was able to make around $24,000, and I wasn't even like dedicating that much time to it. And I expect 2024 to be a lot bigger in terms of airdrops because there's been so many projects waiting on the sidelines who've been waiting for more favorable market conditions to actually launch a token. And now that favorable market conditions are kind of here, there's been a lot of really successful airdrops. I expect 2024 for us to see a lot more airdrops than we did, say, in 2023. And last time I was just going after the Arbitrum airdrop, but the strategy I'm about to go through for this video could potentially get me 14 plus different airdrops minimum, but potentially way more beyond that because of a couple of the different things that I'm doing in this video. Now, out of these 3 wallets that I've mentioned, so far I've only seen Rabby hint at an airdrop. Rabby recently introduced a point system into their wallets where you can earn points by doing things with Rabby wallet. The only reason that I could see them implementing a point system is if at some point in the future they plan on doing an airdrop. So you could potentially earn an airdrop by just using Rabby wallet. And even though up to this point we haven't seen airdrops for wallets, we haven't seen tokens for wallets, I think that is about to change. The wallet wars are heating up. But previously, like MetaMask just dominated the game. Now we have a lot of crazy good wallets. I think with this competition, you're going to see certain wallets distinguish themselves and try to gain more credibility and more market share by teasing these airdrops and by launching a token. All we're really waiting for is one of these wallets to go first. And after that happens, as long as it's mildly successful, I think it's going to open the floodgates and we're going to see a ton more wallets do airdrops. Now, wallet airdrops by no means are what I would be primarily going after. From here, the first airdrop that I'm going to go after is the Eclipse Airdrop. And the reason why is I think the things that I would need to do to potentially qualify for the Eclipse Airdrop would also potentially qualify me for a bunch of other airdrops. Eclipse just kind of hits this whole spectrum of things that a lot of airdrops seem to be really interested in as like qualifications to get, the airdrop for these tokens. Point being that in trying to qualify for potentially the Eclipse airdrop, I believe I could potentially be qualifying for a ton of other airdrops at the same time. Eclipse is an L2 built on Ethereum. that uses Solana's virtual machine and uses Celestia for its DA. It's actually a really exciting blockchain and one of the layer 2s that I'm most excited about coming out, and I'm sure it's going to have a ton of hype when it launches. To get started, I'm going to go to my Kepler wallet where I have my TIA tokens, which, by the way, when you're sending funds to your Kepler wallet, you have to actually send it to your Celestia address. In the Kepler wallet, you'll have like an Atom address. You'll have an address for a bunch of different blockchains. With your TIA tokens, you need to send it to your Celestia address. If you don't know how to do that, you need to go look it up. Don't just randomly send funds to your Kepler wallet without knowing what you're doing. Or if you're new to this, definitely make sure you send a little bit of funds first to make sure you got it right, because it would suck to lose all your money. And what I'm gonna do in my Kepler wallet is I'm gonna take my TIA tokens and I'm gonna go stake them using the Kepler dashboard. Now this one action seems really simple, but it's actually huge. First off, if I'm right about wallet airdrops, this is like a slim potential. This is a Hail Mary, like maybe it'll happen. If I'm right about wallet airdrops, then there's always a potential for Kepler to airdrop a token, which would be like a nice bonus. Second though is the golden goose, and that's the potential for airdrops for TIA stakers. Already, we've seen quite a few projects that have airdropped to those staking TIA tokens. And that's because there's a lot of projects that are using Celestia for DA. And so those projects that are using Celestia for DA are like, oh, well, part of our airdrop, we will airdrop tokens to those that are staking TIA tokens. And one of the projects, as mentioned earlier, that's using Celestia is Eclipse. Now, a bonus airdrop you could qualify for, and like a bonus way to do this, would be to actually stake your TIA tokens using Milky Way. Milky Way is a liquid staking platform for TIA stakers that allows you to go and stake your TIA tokens, and you get like a wrapped token that you can go do things with. But the reason you would do this is because Milky Way doesn't have a token yet. So if you want to earn some, I don't know, milk tokens or whatever they end up being, a good way to earn this would be potentially by staking your TIA tokens using Milky Way. Anyway, you can choose if you want to stake it directly in the wallet or if you want to stake it using Milky Way. Either way, you got this one action that can potentially earn you a ton of different airdrops. Next up, I'm going to go over to my Phantom wallet and farm 3 potential airdrops on Solana that also are going to help me potentially qualify for the Eclipse airdrop, as well as maybe a few others as well. Really quick though, before I get to that, I just opened back up the Obsidian Council and I'm only allowing the first 100 new signups. If you don't know what the Obsidian Council is, it's my private community where I share monthly research, including my entire portfolio and updates on when I buy and sell new projects. We've had projects like Akash, which is up over 900% since sharing it, projects like Cow, which is up over 200% since sharing it, projects like Pendle, which is up over 500% since sharing it, and a ton more. We also have the airdrop guide, which everything that I'm sharing in this video comes from the airdrop guide. And some members have made over $26,000 in 2023 from airdrops alone, covering their membership for literally decades. On top of that, there's a ton of other things in the Obsidian Council, including we do in-person meetups, we have the strategy guide, we have a bunch of courses, there's a ton of cool stuff. Last time I opened it back up, it sold out really quick. There's a link in the description if you want to sign up. And again, I'll be closing the group back down once we hit the 100 member cap. The first thing that we're going to do on Solana is go after the Jupiter airdrop. Now, the very first Jupiter airdrop has already been locked in and there's no way you can qualify for that. However, they're doing their airdrop in batches, so there's a couple other Jupiter airdrops coming that you could potentially qualify for. Plus, there's always the long shot chance by doing things on Jupiter, since it's kind of like a central hub for Solana, you could potentially qualify for future Solana token airdrops. One of those potentially being the Eclipse airdrop. Again, Eclipse is built using the Solana virtual machine, meaning they're going to want to attract the Solana community to their ecosystem and Solana builders to their ecosystem. So it would make sense that they're going to want to allocate a certain portion of their airdrop to the Solana community. The first thing that I'm going to do on Jupiter is I'm just going to do some different swaps. So that means I'm just trading different tokens for other tokens, and maybe I'll trade some of my Sol for some stable coins. Maybe I'll trade my stable coins back for some Sol. I'm then going to go over to their perps platform and maybe do a couple little perps trades. I'm just using really small amounts of money, nothing that I'm really worried about losing, just again to get some transactions in. The whole point is you're just trying to get a couple transactions in, and when you're doing the swaps, maybe some volumes. So if you're trading from Sol to stable coins, maybe you're using like $200 and then you're trading it back and then forth and back and forth. There's not a ton of fees. There's not a ton of slippage. You want to watch those things, make sure you're not losing a lot of capital. It should be very minimal, the amount of loss you're taking while you're going back and forth. But each time you do that, let's like say it's $200 into USDC, that's $200 volume. $200 back to Sol, that's now $400 volume. $200 back to USDC. Now that's $600 of volume. You get the idea. Like you can actually stack up your volume pretty high with a small amount of money by just doing these swaps. You don't want to do it too robotically though, because they don't want people farming the airdrops. Like they don't want computers farming these airdrops, or there's these operations where these people have like 100 different wallets or 200 wallets and they're trying to farm these things. So if you do it too robotically, you might screw yourself over. That's why I always say, like, have fun with it, try to learn and try to explore a little bit. Learn how to do things on chain and how these things work, and that'll give you an edge investing as well. Lastly, I would check out the DCA feature and try to use that a couple times to learn how that works. That's a great way to get a bunch of transactions in, because you can say, hey, I want to take $100 and I want to use it over 7 days to buy X token, then just set it and then it just automatically buys those things. It's actually a pretty cool thing to use. Next, I'm going to take my money and go over to Kamina. This protocol doesn't yet have a token either, and helps me qualify for potentially a Kamina airdrop and the Eclipse airdrop as well. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go lend out some SOL and then earn some yield on that SOL as it's being lent out. And again, I'm only using a really small amount to do this. And then I might explore around Kamina and see if there's any other interesting things to do. If I don't find anything else interesting to do in Kamina, then I just wouldn't do it. Like maybe you'll miss out on farming the airdrop, but again, you just kind of want to use these things naturally and organically in a way that intrigues you. Third, I'm going to go over to Marginfi. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to lend out some funds on Marginfi by staking some SOL for an LST token. And then I'm going to take that LST token and I'm going to use it to borrow against. So I'm going to deposit my LST token and maybe borrow some stable coins or something, keeping an eye on account health to make sure that I'm like sub 50% so I don't end up getting liquidated. And when it comes to earning the Marginfi airdrop, a way that helps you actually earn that is by using the referral link that they give you. For example, in the description of this video, I have a referral link. Anytime people click on that, that earns me points that helps me better qualify for the airdrop in the future. If you're doing this same airdrop, you would want to take your referral link and then like maybe sign up a friend under it or something like that. And when I used Marginfi to actually get this referral link, it took 24 hours. So I had to set everything up and get like my funds deposited, and then 24 hours later, it was able to generate the referral link, and then I was able to go and send that to people to get them to sign up. Lastly, any tokens that I have left. So I've done all these different tasks. Hopefully, I'm going to qualify for this airdrop. Any tokens I have left, I'm going to go over to Jupiter. I'm going to swap those tokens out of SOL or stablecoins or whatever, and I'm going to swap them into KNK token. Obviously, leaving a little bit of SOL for gas so that I can do future transactions in my Phantom wallet. This is just a personal preference. This does not help you qualify for any airdrops. I'm just personally bullish on KNK. So I'm taking that, I'm depositing it into KNK and hoping that the value of those tokens ends up going up over time. I have a video where I talked about my top low cap cryptos in January, where I talk about KNK, and I have a full interview with the head of business development for KNK if you want to check out those things and maybe learn a little bit more. Otherwise, you can skip that step and just do whatever you want with your tokens, stick them in stable coins or whatever. All right, at this point, we have 300 staked in TIA. We have 300 that we've run all around through Solana, and now it's sitting as some sort of token. The next thing that I would do is I would head over to my Rabu wallet and I would bridge my ETH over to ZK Sync using Jumper Exchange. Jumper is a bridge aggregator. It's actually a really great user experience, and it doesn't have a token yet. And obviously, since I'm bridging from ETH, I got to keep an eye on gas prices. When I went to bridge funds over, it was only about $3, so that wasn't bad. Once I'm over to ZK Sync, I'd go straight over to SyncSwap and use it a few times to get some transactions done. Minimum, I'd aim for about 3 swaps. SyncSwap currently doesn't have a token yet either, so again, it's another airdrop that I can tack on and potentially earn, while I'm also trying to farm the ZK Sync airdrop. And from here, I would just go do like interesting things on ZK Sync. I wouldn't have like a specific agenda. I would just look at like all the apps on ZK Sync and I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. I want to try that out. Or, oh, that looks cool. I'm going to see how it works. And just the same way that we use Jupiter, Marginfi, those same kind of general ideas where I'm using the apps, I'm making sure that I'm not like losing my funds in the process, and I'm just getting some general activity on ZK Sync. A great way to find cool projects to explore is on DApp Radar or on the ZK Sync website. And at the same time, again, that I'm potentially qualifying for all these airdrops, I'm also potentially qualifying for the Eclipse airdrop. That's because Eclipse is also, among other things, an L2. And there's been a couple airdrops so far that have looked at things like this, like what is your transactions on various L2s? If you have enough transaction volume, you get the airdrop. So this is another way to potentially earn the Eclipse airdrop at the same time as well. And from here, I'd maybe keep like a fourth of my capital in ZK Sync to keep using and doing things. And then using Jumper Bridge, I would bridge the rest back to Ethereum. And from here, I would split my remaining funds, depositing half into Swell and the other half into Ether.fi, and of course leaving a little bit left over for gas fees. To start out, Swell is a liquid staking platform that currently doesn't have a token yet. Liquid staking platforms are huge. Think of things like Lido, etc. And a great way to potentially earn a Swell airdrop is by depositing funds into Swell and using a referral link that they give to you to get other people to deposit funds into Swell. Which, by the way, I have a referral link in the description of this video if you want to use it. It helps me earn points to potentially get an airdrop. But if you're like, you know what, screw you, YouTuber, you don't need any extra airdrop points, which is true. I don't need any extra airdrop points. You don't have to use that. Then you could go search it and use it a different way. The point is that you'll get also a referral link and you can go use that in the same way. Now, that's not where we're stopping though. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna take our Swell liquid token. So you deposit that ETH into Swell, you get a liquid staking token. We're gonna take that and we're gonna deposit that into Eigen Layer. Eigen Layer is maybe the most anticipated launch of this year. It's massive, and if they airdrop a token, it is going to be huge. They have said a couple times that they have no plans to airdrop a token, but everyone says that, and then they end up airdropping a token. I actually did a podcast with the founder of Eigen Layer if you wanna watch it. It's really cool and help you understand what Eigen Layer is and why it's so revolutionary. Anyway, by depositing onto Eigen Layer, by taking that Swell token and depositing on Eigen Layer, we could now potentially earn an Eigen Layer airdrop. And they're already doing points on Eigen Layer. So when you deposit it, you're gonna start earning Eigen points, which potentially, again, they're not saying this, but potentially could qualify you for a future Eigen Layer token airdrop. Okay, so potentially we're earning a Swell token airdrop, potentially we're earning an Eigen token airdrop, but also Eigen Layer has Eigen DA. So the same way that Celestia has Celestia DA, well, Eigen has Eigen DA. And so projects can choose, they can say, hey, I wanna use Celestia for DA, or they can choose and say, I wanna use Eigen Layer for DA. And those projects that use Eigen Layer for DA, I would expect would do the same thing where they're like, oh, we're gonna airdrop tokens to Eigen Layer stakers, the people staking in Eigen Layer and making it work. And then even on top of that, I imagine the actual protocols using the restaking function of Eigen Layer, the tokens that are tapping into Ethereum security using Eigen Layer, they're probably gonna also airdrop tokens to Eigen Layer stakers. So there's like all kinds of airdrops we could potentially qualify for by doing this step. Next, I would take the other half of my funds and I would deposit those into Ether.fi. Ether.fi is a restaking platform that also, again, doesn't have a token. And by depositing your funds into Ether.fi, you're also depositing your funds into Eigen Layer. So you're gonna earn Eigen Layer points, you're gonna earn potentially a Ether.fi airdrop, and you're earning all the other things that we just talked about a second ago. And that's it. That's what I would do about $1,000. It's kind of a complex strategy where you're doing a bunch of different things, but man, are we potentially maximizing things? I'm really excited to come look at this in like a year and a half and see how lucrative this strategy ends up turning out. And I'll do an update video and share that, and we'll see. As always, none of this was investment advice. None of this was me telling you to go do these things. I'm like a Pinterest board. I'm a great place to get some cool, interesting ideas, but you gotta act like an adult. You gotta take responsibility for your actions. You gotta go do your own research. Don't just blindly copy me. Make sure you know what you're doing. Be competent, because if you don't, I can promise you're gonna lose money. If you're just copying me, even if it's a great idea, you're gonna figure out a way to lose money if you don't know what you're doing. So make sure you put in the work if you wanna get good results. If this video is helpful, make sure to hit that like button. If you have anything to add, or maybe some other airdrops that you think I should be going after, let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the little bell next to it to be notified each time I release a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.